not in answers someone else must give, but in the strength you hold to declare your own peace. This is the journey of recovery, not rushing, not erasing, but slowly, steadily, choosing yourself again. You are not only surviving this heartbreak, you are being reshaped by it, stronger, wiser, more whole. Take one last deep breath with me now. Inhale gentleness. Exhale release. Hold this truth in your chest. Healing is not finished tonight, but it has begun. And you do not walk into the night empty. You carry strength. You carry clarity. You carry yourself. Now it is time to rest, to let the heart soften, to let the body surrender to peace instead of pressure. At 11 p.m., Whisper Sister will meet you. Her voice is soft, sleepy, a gentle hush at the end of a long day. Where I have guided you through the release of heartbreak, she will guide you into the release of night, into quiet, into rest, into sleep that heals. So breathe one more time. Inhale recovery. Exhale surrender. And step forward from healing your heart to resting your soul. One of the hardest parts after a breakup is the questions left hanging. Why did they leave? Did they ever really love me? Was it all a lie? You wait for the call, the text, the conversation that explains everything. But often, those answers never arrive. Or if they do, they don't satisfy. They don't untangle the ache the way you hoped. Because closure is not something they can hand you. Closure is something you give yourself. So how do you create closure? You stop chasing their explanation and start writing your own truth. Maybe it sounds like this: they could not meet me where I needed, and that is enough reason. Or, I was not unworthy, they were unready. Or simply, it ended, and I will heal. You create rituals too. Write a letter you never send. Delete the conversations you no longer need to reread. Return the belongings that keep you tethered. Each act says, this chapter is closing, and slowly, your heart believes it. Closure does not mean forgetting. It means accepting. It means no longer waiting on someone else to set you free. You hold the key. You always did. So take it now. Turn it gently. Let the door close. And step into the freedom that comes when you no longer wait for answers that cannot heal you anyway. After heartbreak, the thought of love can feel dangerous. You remember the pain, the late night tears, the unanswered calls, the sharp silence where intimacy used to live. Your heart whispers, never again. And that instinct makes sense. It's self-protection. Your heart is building walls to keep from breaking a second time. But here's the truth. Those walls don't only keep out pain, they also keep out joy. Healing is not about rushing into love again. It's about remembering that love itself was never the enemy. It was the mismatch, the wounds, the dynamics, the timing. Love, real love, is still possible, still waiting, still worthy of trust. So how do you trust again? Slowly, gently, with wisdom this time. You begin by learning to trust yourself, trusting your own voice when it says, "This doesn't feel safe." Trusting your own needs when they rise, trusting that your boundaries matter and deserve to be honored. Because the more you trust yourself, the safer it becomes to open towards someone else. Then practice in small ways. Let people show you who they are, not with words only, but with consistent action. Notice if they respect your no. Notice if they celebrate your yes. Notice if you feel more yourself around them, not less. And remind yourself daily, being open to love again is not betrayal of your past. It does not erase what you felt. It does not minimize what you lost. It honors the truth that your heart is still alive. You are not meant to stay walled off forever. You are meant to heal. You are meant to love wisely, deeply, fully, again. When people talk about forgiveness, they often misunderstand. They think it means saying, "It didn't matter," or "It's all okay now." But forgiveness does not erase. It does not excuse. It does not mean you invite someone back in to repeat the same harm. Forgiveness means release. It means loosening your grip on the bitterness that burns you more than it burns them. It means saying, "I choose not to let this wound control the rest of my life." Forgiveness is not for their comfort. It is for your peace. Forgiveness also means turning inward. You must forgive yourself for what you did not know then, for the red flags you overlooked, for the compromises you regret, for the love you gave that was not returned in kind. You may feel shame about those choices, but shame keeps you locked in the past. Forgiveness unlocks the door. Whisper it gently. I forgive myself for being human. I forgive myself for learning the hard way. I forgive myself for loving as best I knew how. This is not weakness. This is healing. Because when you forgive, you free yourself to move forward without dragging the chains of yesterday. The past remains part of your story, but forgiveness allows it to be a chapter, not the whole book. So tonight, consider where forgiveness might be needed, not as a gift to someone who hurt you, but as a gift to yourself. Because the truth is, you cannot rebuild love for your future while still gripping resentment from your past. Forgiveness is the release. Forgiveness is the bridge. Forgiveness is the strength that makes room for joy again. One of the quiet losses after a breakup is the version of yourself you forgot while loving someone else. You shaped your days around them. You adjusted your rhythms. You bent your preferences. And now, without them, you may wonder, who am I without this relationship? This is not failure. This is a doorway. You are being invited back to the parts of you that waited patiently while love took center stage. Think back. What lit you up before? What hobbies, what passions, what rituals were once yours alone? Those pieces are still here. They are waiting. They are ready to meet you again. Rediscovering yourself is not only about going backward, it is also about becoming new. You are not the same person who entered that relationship. You carry lessons now. You carry wisdom. You carry scars that shape strength. So begin gently experimenting. Try activities you've never tried. Say yes to opportunities you once thought weren't you. Journal about who you want to be now. Ask yourself, what kind of mornings do I want to wake into? What kind of friendships feel nourishing? What kind of love feels aligned? Rediscovery is not just remembering, it is creating. This is your chance to weave yourself again, threads old and new, woven into someone whole, someone free. So do not fear this question, who am I without them? Instead, answer it slowly, day by day, with courage, with curiosity, with care. Because the truth is, you were always more than who you loved. And now, you get to meet yourself fully again. After heartbreak, your mind often turns inward first. You replay the conversations, the choices, the red flags you ignored. You whisper, if only I had done more. If only I had loved better. If only I had been different. But self-blame is heavy. It builds a prison inside you. And here is the truth. No relationship ends because of one person alone. It takes two people and two sets of choices. You are not the villain of your own love story. You are human. You did the best you could with what you knew then, and that is enough. Blame doesn't only turn inward, sometimes it points outward at the one who left, at the one who hurt you. And anger here is natural. It can even be useful at first. It protects you from collapse. It reminds you that you deserved better. But if you hold on to it too long, blame hardens into bitterness. and bitterness keeps you tethered to the very person you are trying to release. So healing requires this: let go of blame, both directions. Not to excuse what happened, not to erase accountability, but to free yourself from carrying the weight of a story already written. Try saying it softly. I release myself from blame. I release them from blame. I choose freedom. This doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean reconciling. It means unchaining your heart from the cycle of fault so it can rest, so it can heal. Because the opposite of blame is not denial. It is peace. And peace is what your heart is reaching for now.
The night is not empty. It is full of quiet presence. Feel it now, like velvet air against your skin, like a soft hand smoothing over your hair. The darkness does not judge. It does not demand. It simply surrounds you, a cocoon of stillness. Every sound has softened. Every demand has hushed. And here you are free. Free to stop trying. Free to stop carrying. Free to just be. The night holds you gently, like the earth holds roots, like the sky holds stars. You belong to this stillness, and it welcomes you home. Now imagine the night as a great soft river of quiet. You are resting on its surface, floating without effort, being carried without strain. The current moves slowly, easing you farther and farther away from the noise of the day. Each breath drifts you deeper, each exhale sinks you softer, until even the edges of your body begin to blur into the stillness. You are no longer holding yourself up. The night is holding you, safe, supported, unburdened. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to decide, nothing left to fix. Only this: being carried, being held, being soothed into sleep by the quiet arms of the night.
One of the hardest parts of heartbreak is the highlight reel your mind plays. You remember the laughter, the inside jokes, the way their hand felt in yours. But notice, your mind rarely replays the silence after the arguments. It doesn't spotlight the moments you felt unseen, unheard, or unloved. This is how grief tricks us. It edits the story. It shows us only the golden frames and hides the shadows. But healing requires honesty. Yes, there were moments of joy. Hold them with gratitude, but also admit the pain. Admit the cracks. Admit the weight you carried alone. Because you cannot heal if you only mourn the dream instead of facing the truth. So here's a practice. When the highlight reel begins, pause, whisper to yourself, that is part of the story, but not the whole story. Then name 3 truths, real moments that remind you why this relationship could not continue. Maybe it was their absence when you needed support. Maybe it was the constant tension you tried to downplay. Maybe it was the way you lost parts of yourself just to keep the peace. Let those truths stand beside the memories. Because resilience is not about erasing the good. It is about refusing to romanticize what hurt you. And when you see the full picture, not just the dream, but the reality, you loosen the grip of illusion. This is not bitterness. It is balance. It is reclaiming your ability to tell the story whole. And in that wholeness, you will find release. Because healing is not holding tighter to the idealized version of what was. It is opening your hands, letting the illusion fall, and keeping only the lessons that will guide you forward. After a breakup, so many people try to skip straight to strength. They tell themselves, I should be over this by now. They hear others say, just move on. But grief doesn't follow deadlines, and grief isn't weakness. Grief is proof you loved. It means your heart opened. It means you cared deeply. It means something meaningful was lost. So if you feel tears rising, if your chest aches in waves, if memories replay in the quiet hours, that is not failure. That is love still echoing. Do not rush to silence it. Do not shame yourself for it. Allow it, because grief is not your enemy. It is the evidence of how much it mattered. Here is your permission slip tonight. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to cry for what could have been. You are allowed to miss what was. You are allowed to feel both love and loss at the same time. Recovery does not come from pretending. It comes from feeling. So sit with it for a moment, for an hour, for as long as it takes. If the tears fall, let them fall. If the anger rises, let it speak. If the sorrow lingers, let it breathe. And remind yourself, I am grieving because I loved, and love is never wasted. This grief is not the end of your story. It is the bridge between chapters. And each time you allow yourself to feel it, you move one step closer to crossing that bridge into healing. The hardest part after heartbreak is often the silence. No more texts lighting up your phone. No more calls at the end of the day. No more voice saying your name like it belonged to them. And that silence, it can feel unbearable, like the air has been taken from the room, like you're left holding an echo instead of a presence. It's tempting to fill the silence with noise, scrolling, numbing, running from the ache. But hear me, silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. And though it hurts right now, this space is where healing begins. So let's start simple. Let's start with one breath. Inhale slow, like you're giving yourself permission to still exist. Exhale steady, like you're letting go of the fragments you cannot carry tonight. Again, inhale, letting oxygen remind you, I am still here. Exhale, reminding yourself, I don't have to fix everything at once. This is the first practice of recovery, to breathe, not to rush, not to erase the pain, just to prove to yourself that life moves through you still. Because heartbreak may stop routines, but it does not stop your breath, and each breath is a promise that you are still alive, still capable, still becoming. We have walked through heartbreak together tonight. We sat in the silence after love ends. We breathed through grief. We named the illusions and let them go. We rebuilt self-worth, released the weight of blame, and rediscovered the self that still shines underneath the loss. We spoke of forgiveness, not to erase, but to release. We opened the possibility of trusting love again, not as betrayal of the past,